We'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the various lands where we gather, even as we do so electronically. And CORF pays respect to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledges the important roles of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples within the outdoor recreation community and on the land, sky and waterways used for outdoor activities across Australia and across Queensland. And we also acknowledge the support provided to CORF and to the outdoor sector by the Queensland Government, and hoping that that support will continue further and increase after the election that's looming from the government. Just to start off today, I should introduce myself. My name is Dom Courtney. I'm the Executive Officer of CORF. And we've also got Mark Squires, our Partnerships Manager. And I'm not sure if any other CORF staff are on the call at the moment. Hugh might be, and Angela Wright might also be joining us from Natureplay. I'd like to welcome all members of CORF and others who are joining us, including reps from interstate organisations. I saw Laurie's on the call. Welcome, Laurie, from Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. Just last Friday, the Queensland Chief Health Officer made some really interesting statements, and the outdoors is the safest place to be. So that one certainly tickled my fancy. I was fairly happy about that. She went on to say, this is a bit of Queensland bragging, saying we have got the best climate in Australia and the world in terms of living our lives outdoors, and wherever possible, I, as in the Chief Health Officer, strongly recommends people move their lives as much as possible outdoors. So fairly happy with her statements in that. I think she's pretty much nailed it for us. So this is partly when they were relaxing the density requirements for outdoor activities, for outdoor events particularly, to 1 per 2 square metres instead of 1 per 4 square metres. And just thought there were some really good comments in what the Chief Health Officer said in relation to moving your lives as much as possible outdoors. So yeah, it was very good to see. We sort of republished that. Mark put it together and put it on Facebook and Instagram, I think. So we thought we'd make a little bit of a, draw a bit of attention to those statements, which was great. A few topics for discussion today. Happy for you to add things and talk about other things. We've got a few there to talk about right from the get-go, and then we can move on to our favourite topic of all time, it seems, for the last more than 6 months now, which is a bit scary, but the industry COVID safe plans and what it means to operate in a COVID environment or potential COVID environment. So yeah, that's sort of what we've got. If anyone has any other topics, please feel free to add them in the chat as we go along. Just to have a quick check here. Mark's added the link to the Chief Health Officer's presentation in the chat there too. So we've got it on our website. So yeah, but if there's any other topics, please raise them as we go along. More than happy to have this as a conversation, as I said, not a lecture. So, and on that very point, little shameless plug about the Outdoors Queensland Awards. I flagged this as an opportunity, and I sort of guess it's really an opportunity for people to come together and celebrate a lot of the good things that have been going on in the outdoors. We're going to do it as a virtual presentation this year. You can attend the event from anywhere. We'd really like to see people right across Queensland and interstate, if that's where you happen to be. We're going to do the presentation. You can just register via Zoom and show your support for outdoor operators right across Queensland. I guess the big part of it is it's not just about the winners of these awards, the finalists, and all the people who are nominated. You know, we do want to acknowledge the work that's been done, but also the really good things that are happening right across the outdoor sector. And we've also got a guest speaker, Eleanor Carey, who's an adventurer. She is the first Australian female to row the Pacific Ocean, which seems like an interesting thing to do. She joined a couple of women from the UK and rowed from California to Hawaii and set 2 world records together as a team. So she's going to come and speak to us about her experiences and her story in general. So yeah, I think she'll be quite an interesting guest as well, how that all came about. So Eleanor Carey, yeah, so please, the 30th of October, it's a Friday evening from about 6 o'clock. So please feel free to join us for that virtual event. Hope to have plenty of people. If there's any, David Maskell, can we dress up? Of course you can, mate. Actually, one of the things I should say, we're encouraging people to join us from wide and far, but also from outdoor areas. You know, if you want to join from your backyard or from a park or wherever, that's what we want to see. You know, happy to have that as part of the presentation. The problem with door prizes is it's outdoors, mate. So there's no doors. So I don't know how you do a door prize. David's just asked that in the chat, but there will be certainly, let's just say there'll be some surprises as we go along throughout the evening. So I'm trying to build a bit of suspense here, of course. Mark, did you want to say anything about the awards, mate?
Only that, yes, we encourage lots of people to come and join us, you know. And David, yes, dress up, please do. Bring your bow tie, bring your champagne, bring your friends and make a party, you know, and then join our party across the state. Be good fun. And across the border too. Laurie's going to be there, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, dressing up, everyone needs a good excuse to dress up every now and again. So please do.
I'll be in my suit and tie, you know, so you can join me. It's all good.
But there is no pressure to dress up, of course. If you want to be in your casual wear, that's cool too. We're very easy there. Change in time zone. We don't have a change in time zone, Laurie. That's your problem. So yeah, we don't change our clocks up here. We're sensible. So anyway, that's a different, we'll come to that one on a different day, that discussion about daylight saving or daylight losing. I don't know what you call it. I did want to flag that the Queensland state election, which is the day after the awards, they've conveniently not clashed with the awards day for us. This is the 31st of October, the Saturday. So we've released a state election outdoor recreation policy statement. We've sent that to the political parties. We're seeking commitments, and that we've published that on our website. And we'll also publish any responses we receive before the election from the different political parties. So yeah, just encourage you, if you want to have a look at that, the state election policy, it's on the website.
It's just coming. I'm just going to give you a link in a second.
Okay, mate. Thank you. It is on the website, but also if you're having any discussions with candidates or that sort of thing, feel free to mention it, and feel free to let them know that their party has received that statement, and we'd love to get responses from the different political parties to what I'd like to think are pretty common sense calls to action that we're seeking. So hopefully we can get some of that from the parties as well. Mark's just shared the link to that as well on the in the chat, and we did include this infographic just as a bit of a cover sheet on that statement, just to really highlight the big numbers that are involved in outdoor activities. These figures come from an economic report done by Marsden Jacob a couple of years ago. So it was like the first one, 70 million times Queensland residents participated in nature-based outdoor recreation in 1 year. 231 million hours of outdoor rec participation by Queenslanders. I'm not going to read them all out to you, but I just trying to highlight this to the decision makers to say this sector that we represent, that you guys are all key players in, we're trying to make sure that it's considered as a, by the political parties when they're making policy decisions. So that's sort of the numbers that we're trying to highlight there. Even the number of jobs, the 33,500 full-time jobs, attributable to outdoor recreation. So, you know, those statements, I think, can make a bit of a difference and maybe get people to sit up and take notice of our sector that does a lot of work, but also I think sometimes we go along under the radar a bit, just out there doing the things that we do. So yeah, that I just wanted to highlight that we just use this infographic as a bit of an intro to try to get people to take notice of what we're doing and what we're asking for in that statement. So yeah, that infographic's on the website too, and it's the cover page of our position statement. So if you wanted to have a look at that, please do. Any queries or questions as we go through? I've said a couple of times, not supposed to be a lecture. I'm just getting smiles. Okay. Another one I wanted to highlight is Natureplay Queensland is doing a Loose Parts Play regional tour across, I've got the wrong links on the bottom of that page. I thought I took them out, sorry. So we're doing 3 weeks of tour through a couple in October, so next week, and then 2 weeks later, and then another one in the first week of November. So we're doing three little tours that make up our big tour across regional Queensland. So not all of Queensland, but we're trying to get as far as we can. So Stanthorpe, Warwick, Dalby, Kingaroy, Mergen and Toowoomba is our first tour, then up to Rockhampton, Emerald, Billawheeler and Bundaberg. And then the home leg is Harvey Bay, Gympie, Maroochydore and Caloundra. So it's pretty full on. The idea is we got some sponsorship or a grant from the Heart Foundation. We've teamed up with Outsiders and Bush Kids, which are all about other organisations who are trying to encourage outdoor play for kids, and particularly loose parts play, and going to education centres, primary schools, play centres in those towns and regions to help people with implementing loose parts play for kids in those areas. So, and the idea is just trying to educate, but also leave behind a system that they can use to make loose parts play a normal part of childhood for the kids in that area. So it's a really good little initiative that we're doing, and it actually bookends Natureplay Queensland program a bit, because we did a regional tour back in May 2014 to get Natureplay kicked off when we first got funding from the state government, and we're now doing another little tour for 3 weeks that's going to sort of be the other side of that end of things. And a lot's changed in that 6 years, but it's nice to be able to still be able to get out there and take what Natureplay brings to the people in the regions. So we're really looking forward to delivering those sessions, and big thanks to Bush Kids and also the Outsiders and the Heart Foundation for supporting this initiative, and of course the staff from Natureplay within Outdoors Queensland. They've certainly done a lot of work on making this tour happen. So my apologies for getting the links wrong, but I'm sure we can, all that information's on the website. So, yeah. Moving along, this one's another collaboration between Corf and Outdoors WA. So we're delivering some webinars about implementation of the Australian Adventure Activity Standard and the Good Practice Guides. So these will be, again, during October. So Wednesday, the 14th of October and Thursday, the 29th of October, both from 6 o'clock Queensland time. I don't know what that is, New South Wales time, Laurie, but it's 4 o'clock in WA, because they don't change their clocks either, I don't think, for us Easterners. So yeah, so there'll be more information coming about registration, that sort of thing. Just got to get that information from Jamie in Outdoors WA, and we'll get that out to people. We'll put out a bulletin on that one, and hopefully we'll have a few people join us about the implementation of the Adventure Activity Standards. It's probably been a little bit pushed to the background, I think, this year. as a result of a certain pandemic, but there's still opportunities there for people to implement the adventure activity standards if you haven't already, or even re-examine how you are implementing it as you go along. So hopefully those webinars will be of value for quite a few people. So yeah, invite you to join us for those webinars as well.
Tom?
Yes.
Is the second webinar a continuation of the first one, or are they standalone events?
They are standalone, David, but the idea is the first one will be probably more of an overview, which may not be relevant for everyone, but the second one is more getting into more detail. So if we didn't want to just get straight into the details, so there might be some people who are confident that they don't need to attend the first one and can jump straight into the second, and others it might be worth joining for both of them. So yeah, it's not intended to be attend either of them. They're sequential, I suppose. But again, we'll get more information out about them shortly, and we'll have to do that shortly because they're only a couple of weeks away. So moving right along, a new Queensland Road Map for easing restrictions was released, I think this morning. It might have been late yesterday, but so but we now have a stage 4, 5 and 6 in our roadmap for easing restrictions. So I do like the statements there under stage 1 to 3 where it says, due to Queenslanders' hard work, strong borders, testing and rapid response, restrictions have eased. So there's a bit of information there about what we can do right now. And then the stage 4 restrictions, which started early yesterday morning, with some extra restrictions easing. And one of the ones that caught my eye there is the standing, eating and drinking will be permitted at venues with COVID safe plan or checklist from 4 o'clock today. So that's a change that I wasn't aware of. So I think we need to know a little bit more about that and what that's going to have an impact, because right now it has been that everyone had to be seated when dining or drinking. So that's an interesting one that will make a big difference, I think, particularly for outdoor education operations, school camps particularly. So yeah, that one. The other one is the outdoor density, and that was announced last Friday, I think it was. And that was when the Chief Health Officer made that statement, and that's about relaxations to 1 person per 2 square meters, and again for outdoor dining, etc. So Mark's just shared a link to the new roadmap, and Neil's made a comment about just in time for this evening's game. Yeah, that was a funny one. The open air stadium change increased numbers, which, yeah, interestingly, I think it was even for yesterday's game. There was a game last night, I think, at the Gold Coast too in the AFL. So coincidences happen, don't they? So I guess my point of view is I'm happy if restrictions are easing. It shows the Chief Health Officer's comfortable with the situation we're in. And, you know, I guess as long as these restrictions ease across the board and make it easier for people to do the activities and get back to business more, while still conscious of the requirements and the protocols, that's great. But interestingly, as you look further through, it does have more information about the borders opening depending on certain situations. And then they do also throw in there that if things may go backwards, like it says, if there's community transmission in Queensland, they might include different changes. So they're putting it out there as far as what they're looking to do, I suppose. And all of this is all subject to what they say at the bottom of that, on that slide, the new normal, which is the physical distancing, mask when distancing is not possible, the hand hygiene, staying at home when you're sick, contact tracing, rapid response to outbreaks and travel restriction from hotspots. So, you know, I think they're trying to really paint what this new normal looks like for us, and how long that's going to be the new normal is another question, but I think they're certainly trying to set that out for us. And a lot of that is reflected directly in the industry plans. Those sort of things are certainly where we can, they're in there. So yeah, I think I just wanted to flag that. I haven't had a good look at that roadmap, but it certainly does look like there's some easing of restrictions further and planning to go further to stage 5 and 6. I'm not sure if anyone has had a good look at it and has any comments. Happy to open the floor to anyone. No? Heads shaking. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to have a good look at this yet, but it does look positive, and the fact that they're setting it out, you know, each month, 1st of October, 1st of November, 1st of December, it does show, I guess, what they're hoping to achieve if things go to script or continue to go positively. And it also depends on what happens in other states as well. As I think the one of them is depending on no community transmission in New South Wales, then we'll relax and let the Southerners head up here. And yeah, so I think it's all quite dependent, which I guess you'd expect. Yeah, so I just wanted to flag that one.
It's interesting. It's interesting that there's still, even though they've said that the borders will potentially relax, there's still that requirement of a declaration pass.
Yeah, we can't trust the Southerners, Laurie.
Yeah, well, you know, we're dodgy characters.
No, yeah, it is interesting. I think the issue that we've got, I think then they're worried that people might have been in Victoria and then come up here. So they're still trying to, those declarations, and they've just expanded it further south for our border bubble or whatever they're calling it, which now includes Byron. And we've got a long weekend this weekend. So they had the Deputy Police Commissioner on the radio this morning talking about how long people should allow to get back into Queensland on Monday. If you go for a drive down to Byron this weekend, which you can do, but he did say, sort out your border declaration before you leave home. Don't be doing that on Monday. And he then said, but also pack your lunch. Don't expect you're just going to sail across the border. So he was quite open about the fact that if there's a lot of people doing it, I don't know why you'd go down to Byron when you could go to the beach in Queensland, but that's a different story. It might be me being slightly parochial at times, but yeah, the border declarations, I think they're relying on that. It's partly that it's a legal instrument and they can get a statement from people that is enforceable, and they have enforced them in the courts up here where people haven't been truthful about it. Yeah, it does look interesting, but like the checkpoint review, they talk about making sure there's still widespread testing, no community transmission, analysis of state, interstate and international trends and data, and then analysis that a move to the next stage will not present unnecessary risks. Because the other one that has been talked about a bit in the last couple of weeks is opening up a travel bubble between Queensland, Tasmania and New Zealand particularly, which I know a lot of people here would be happy to hear that there's potential to travel to and from New Zealand. But again, that's dependent on the situation in both places continuing to improve. And yeah, so we'll have to see what happens with that. All right. Any more questions on the roadmap or comments? Nope. Okay. On to our favourite topic, industry COVID safe plans. I just wanted to flag, I guess, you know, the plans are all about, they're not about returning to how everyone operated before COVID. They're actually about the changes required to operate safely in a COVID-19 environment with the appropriate controls in place. So that's really what they are about. They're for any organisation who, you don't have to be a member of CORF, but you can still be a member of CORF. There's quite a few other reasons to join us, and including the advocacy work that we are doing on your behalf. So, but the other one is that statement of compliance. It is important that people do know that they have fill that out and display it when operating. So I just wanted to flag that as well. The two industry plans that Corf prepared were the outdoor recreation activity providers and the outdoor education providers plans. We haven't had any changes to those plans since the 23rd of July, which feels like a miracle to me, but they are currently being updated, which is taking into account those changes about the 1 person per 2 square metres. So I'm expecting them, I actually checked this morning to see if new versions had been updated to have those details, because it currently says 1 per 4 square metre in the industry plan, but the roadmap itself can override that. So it would be okay if you were running an operation tomorrow, you could do it at 1 per 2 square metres for outdoor dining, you know, if you'll be doing that. So even though it says in the plan 1 per 4 square metres where necessary for adults, particularly in the outdoor education plan, you could do it at 1 per 2 square metres in line with the roadmap and the Chief Health Officer's direction, as long as you understand how it all works together. But to avoid confusion, the industry plans will be updated very shortly. They've got some information about the outdoors and what is and isn't considered outdoors on the government website. So just have a look at that, just if you have any queries on that. They talk about an outdoor area having fixed or temporary boundaries, but not being fully enclosed, open to the elements with natural airflow. That seems to be what Queensland Health's talking about. So there's a few Q&A pages that need to be updated, I think, but this is one that I found on one from a definition on one of the websites. So there is going to be more information on the websites, on the government websites, and we'll update the Corf website once the plans are updated and released. Really, you probably don't need to do a lot if if as far as these changes, you might be able to double your capacity in outdoor spaces if the 1 person per 4 square metre rule previously applied. So particularly under the outdoor education plan, if for adults, we had to have one person per 4 square metres. So now that's 1 per 2 square metres for outdoor areas, but in an indoor dining room, then that would still be the same as it was last week. So that's probably the biggest one. All those principles of social distancing or physical distancing, cleaning and hygiene are still in play, of course. And there's a bit of a change for outdoor events as well, which is probably Neil made a comment about the games at the stadia. So and the threshold, if you have an outdoor event, previously, if you worked under an industry plan, you had to notify the public health unit. If your event was going to have over 500 people, you had to notify them 10 days in advance of the event. Now it's if it's over 1,000 people. So they've relaxed that one a little bit, which will be really good for some outdoor events that might have been between 500 and 1,000, particularly one is some parkrun events where they might have got 500 or 600 people on a regular basis. They possibly won't get to the 1,000, so they may not have to worry about notifying public health unit that there'll be a parkrun every single Saturday morning at 7 o'clock at a particular venue. They have to tell them 10 days before. So Laurie's just made a comment, have to abide by 4 square metre rule, but don't have a maximum number of attendees. So is it just calculated on your area, Laurie?
Yeah. So we're not restricted to the 100. If we've got the space to have 500 in a 4 square metre rule, they can have 500. But the social distancing is a recommendation, but they've got to abide by the 4 square metre rule.
Yeah, under the outdoor ed plan, it's sort of the same. The 100 is groups of 100. You could have 5 groups of 100 if you had 2,000 square metres indoors even. But the groups of 100 are so hard because you've got to make sure they don't intermingle. So that's where that's become such a drama in there. So that's sort of that one. The 4 square metre, which is now 2 square metres outdoors, will make a big difference, I think, as far as capacity and management of operations. All right. On that exact point about the 100-person limit, thank you, Laurie, for that little segue. We have made the submission seeking the relaxation of the 100-person limit, and it's under consideration by Queensland Health. I'm not sure when we're going to get that response from them, but we will advise as soon as we know. That submission's on our website as well, and it was sent out with the notes from the last coffee and conversation session we had 2 weeks ago. We sent that in the link to that submission, but it is on the website as well. So basically it's pretty short and sweet, setting it out why that 100 limit is causing grief and why we think it's not appropriate, and seeking to have it relaxed. Particularly for, well, it is actually for school-age children, the 100 group. So yeah, trying to get that taken away. We'll see what happens with that, and we will let you know as soon as we know. Sorry, my phone's just ringing as it does whenever you're running one of these sessions. I've also, sorry, Greg?
Beers are on you for having your phone ring during a meeting.
Yeah, no worries, mate. They'll be about 4 o'clock this afternoon. It'll just be me here, unfortunately. My wife's not even here today. She's working at the office, so on me. No worries. So Mark's just shared that link to the submission. As I said, it's pretty basic. Like we didn't want to overblow it. We just wanted it to be a pretty short and sweet one that wouldn't require 80 pages of explanation, just to say we think this restriction doesn't need to be there. So I've deliberately tried to keep it pretty short and sweet. I wanted to highlight that SR COVID-19 email address as well. If you have any specific queries, it is worth sending them through to the Sport and Rec email address and get official answers to that. And the other one is the Public Health Unit proactive site visits. So actually just in Laurie's session earlier today, Cameron Jones from the Queensland Rec Centres mentioned that as one of the best steps that they'd taken was having the public health units from Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast come to their centres and go through the procedures they've got in place and examine what's going on with how they're going to comply with the industry plans and answer questions or allow their staff to ask questions of the public health units, which is a really valuable process. So I just encourage that. I know Benoni has mentioned it a couple of weeks ago too, that Alex Park had done that. And I've heard a couple of other centres have done it too, which is great to see because it educates the public health unit people about what our sector does too and what we are doing and how we're taking all of this seriously. So I think it's well worth doing as a proactive step. I've just highlighted there the outdoor rec activity provider plan, the event framework principles and strategies, and the field of play stuff. So Danny's just put a comment, sorry, just rewinding, having the public health unit attend Alex Park took away the fear factor they might just turn up anyway. So it's a good point actually. Like they're not monsters, they're just people trying to do their jobs. But yeah, you're right, Danny, it's having them come along and like inviting them in, it's better than having them just turn up unannounced, I suppose. So yeah, I think that was it's another side benefit of doing the right thing as far as that's concerned. Just on the outdoor rec activity providers plan, the bit about the field of play concept that'll stay in when the plan once it's revised. So there's more information in there that'll be coming shortly. And the outdoor education provider plan, but this is these notes I put there are the changes that happened in July. And you see the one at the bottom about the requirement that all patrons be seated when eating or drinking. So that's apparently changing as of 4 o'clock this hour. So it'll be interesting to see the changes in that system as far as how that works. I'm not sure if it'll have a big impact on outdoor operators, but it will have some impact, I guess, and particularly it might be an opportunity to relax things a little bit in that space. So it'll have a huge impact for sure for the pubs and clubs and some of these others, but I think we can probably benefit from that same relaxation, I think. Does anyone have any comments on those ones? Nope. I just wanted to flag the COVID safe events as well. As I said, this has changed just with the 1,000 limit instead of 500, and I'm not really sure of why that number's changed, other than I guess some just in further relaxation. You can comply with the COVID safe plan, the outdoor COVID safe plan, so you don't need extra approvals, but you still need to run your event in accordance with the principles and strategies that are in this industry framework for COVID safe events. So, and if you do have more than 1,000 people under your industry plan, then you've got to advise the local public health unit at least 10 business days before the event takes place. So that's changed. It was 500 just last week, but now it's 10 days if it's over 1,000 people, which is a pretty fair size event in our space. So I think it's probably not unreasonable to get in touch with your local public health unit if you're organising something with 1,000 people, whether it's an adventure race or a come and try day or something like that. I think it's probably a reasonable requirement. Any queries on events or any of the other stuff as we go through? I think I would say the frequently asked questions document needs to be updated. They haven't updated it since, it's got 9th of September there on the screen. So they haven't updated it since the announcements last week. So I think once that's updated, there'll be a lot more there, but it's still a really good document that the government's released about events. I've certainly used it quite a few times as a reference point, as people have sent me emails asking about particular events. I've been referring to that document quite a bit, and it's really quite handy and comprehensive. So it'll be good once they get it updated. I certainly feel some empathy for the people who have to update all these documents every time the government changes the restrictions or the level of restrictions. There must be some poor person running around going, oh no, what has that changed in this document? So, and I've spoken to the sport and rec people who've been working on the updates to the industry plans, of them trying to make sure they encapsulate the new level of restrictions properly. And that's been a really good process to have those discussions with them to say, hang on, we need to make sure this is clear and understandable. And some of it we're actually going back to the directions released by the Chief Health Officer, where rather than just trying to go to the roadmap or whatever, we're going back to the real, what are they trying to achieve here and how does that work in the context of the outdoor sector? So that's part of the process of making sure that the industry plans truly reflect what the Chief Health Officer is prepared to approve. So it does take a little bit of time and a lot of work behind the scenes, particularly from the sport and rec people, but also from Queensland Health. So yeah, just have a little bit of patience on some of these documents, because I think some of the government people are pulling their hair out every time there's a change too. It's not just us who are trying to get our heads around it. So that's about it of the organised topics. But yeah, happy to just throw the floor open. Mark's just shared another frequently asked questions on the public health directions and business activity. So thanks, Mark. There's certainly a lot of information on the government website, and I find it hard to keep track of. I don't know about everyone else, but there's some really good resources out there, but it's sometimes hard to know where it all is. Might just stop my screen sharing and open up the floor if anyone wants to have a chat about any other topics.
Hey, Dom.
Yes, mate.
Hi, I can chat about a few topics if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
A bit of a we'll talk about outhouse in just a second, but we're currently on vacation.
Yeah, that's
Pete's-
why I didn't put the outhouse up as a slide, because I saw you're on holidays at the moment. I didn't want to impede your relaxation on your break.
Yeah, Pete's currently off the grid. But just a couple of promotions. There's a lot of stuff happening in the virtual space, not for outside the outhouse at the moment, but in October in other parts of the world, talking about time zone shifts. So there's a Take Me Out Outdoors Day in Canada on the 21st of October, which is their equivalent to, I can't remember what the Corf one is, branding.
Outdoor
Mark up.
October, we ran for quite a while.
Yeah, there's a massive day on 21st of October. Knowles are having their Wilderness Risk Management Conference on the 19th to the 23rd of October, and that's all virtual as well this year. I've got links for all this. I'll post in the chat shortly. That's highly recommended. It's a little bit pricey, but it's a really good if your focus is in risk management, in managing your programs. The AORE, so I've been to this conference myself. It's the Association of Outdoor Recreation and Education, very much focused on university courses, college courses, where there's outdoor ed and outdoor recreation encompassed into curriculum, but also camps and outdoor providers. Their conference is the 26th to the 30th. Again, a virtual event via, I think, a Zoom platform. They're more reasonably priced. The big one in November, just forecasting way off in the future, the AEE, so Association of Experiential Education. They're also running their international conference for the first time completely virtual due to COVID. And again, that's a fairly reasonable price for their conference. That's their biggest gathering in the United States of experiential educators, and has a really diverse range of information that's shared there, from Training Wheels provider who talks about initiatives and games and stuff, through to risk management discussions, through to lots of different gender issues that they're addressing this year. So there's a whole bunch of conference stuff happening, and I figured, just given we've just missed out on our conference period in September traditionally because of the COVID thing, and I know we're working, or Laurie's working towards bringing that back next year, I just want to do a bit of promotion for that, and we'll be putting links up on the Inside the Outhouse website. Outhouse returns on the 12th. I'm going to do a little teaser. It's called Geartober. We have 3 weeks of gear manufacturers who are all Australian based that come in to talk, not to spin or to pitch you their equipment necessarily, but to actually come in and talk about their packs. So One Planet have just, you might have seen a post yesterday, they've just reopened their Melbourne manufacturing hub. Their location there, they're very excited. So they're going to come in and talk about outdoor ed packs and how they design those for outdoor ed usage, and how they've taken on the feedback over years and years and years of outdoor schools saying we want lighter packs, and how they're manufacturing those. So they'll come in and talk to us about that on the 12th. On the 19th, we're going to have Cedar Summit come in. Haven't got a firm talk about but they're a major big player. They're going to come in and talk about their equipment and related to outdoor ed. And on the 26th, Wilderness Equipment are coming back to revisit us again, all the way from WA, to talk about their history as an outdoor provider that's wholly Australian owned, and have been manufacturing in the country for a long time. So Geartober, very relevant towards maybe thinking about your budgets for next year, if you're a budget holder for school-based equipment for outdoor ed and camps, or if you're just looking to buy yourself some new gear for Christmas or for someone special in your life. So Geartober, Inside the Outhouse. And my last plug would be...
Before you go there, David, before you get to your last plug, you got lucky door prizes from all those gear suppliers?
We're working on it. So I mentioned it earlier, we're definitely working on it. So we're going to start promoting it, and I'll jump into the New South Wales session next week, or one of the other Minions management team will jump in, Laurie, and probably do a little bit of promotion, since Corf is on its week off. Wilderness First Aid courses are back happening. There's one happening this week up near me that I'm actually going to, because I need to get my qual rubber stamped again, and we're still looking for people. So if you know anyone who's looking, who can get to Maleny or near Maleny, there's 4 spots available still for that course, but I'll put all those links in. not an endorsement of any of these events, but they're major big international conferences. They're really reasonably priced because you don't have to fly there this year to get the content. The only problem is being up at 2 a.m. in the morning to see the conferences live. In most cases, the conference material is going to be recorded, and you'll be able to watch that in a more reasonable time zone to suit your own needs. There's also bigger rates for corporations or camp organizations. So if you bought a bigger rate, you might get a better discount and be able to share it amongst your staff. So, and there's a lot of COVID related stuff, obviously being American based, a lot of those conferences, but they not so relevant to us, but an interesting perspective on where they're at with their return to our work.
Terrific. Thanks, mate. I guess the biggest challenge on all those major time differences is actually finding the time. If you decide you can't do it live, is actually finding the time to set aside however many hours of conference. That's where I struggle whenever I miss a webinar, is finding the hour at a later date. So I don't know how you go with the whole 3-day conference or something.
The nice thing about these conferences, I having been both to the AORE and the AEE conference myself over the years, is you have to always pick and choose which session you go to, and you always miss something that you really wanted to see. But because all of the conference sessions have been recorded, that's going to be much better value for money this year, and perhaps the way forward for conferencing in the future. There's no alternative. There's nothing better than being at a conference and networking and having a few quiet adult drinks in the evening to reflect on the day's activities. But I think this is a great solution, and yeah, it's probably going to be worth some people's time and money.
Yeah, thanks, mate, and thank you for sharing those links. In there, Laurie's also shared what she's mentioned, the Outdoor Economy Conference, and that's another American one. I've forgotten his name, Laurie, the Californian guy who spoke last week at yours. Putting you on the spot, aren't I?
No, I've got brain fade today. I can't remember. Kevin, I don't know. Anyway, he was great.
Yeah, he was good, and he was talking about it last week as far as what it's going to look like. I've just flicked back through my notes. Noah Williams from
Thank you.
USA Growing Outdoors. So he's all about the economy and the outdoor economy and trying to get that on the spotlight, and Laurie also shared, speaking of conferences, the survey relating to what people would like to see from NOEC 2021. It should have been, I think, the final day today in the Blue Mountains, and that's going to be this time next year. So yeah, there's a bit of a survey that Laurie's distributed just as trying to build the program as far as what people would like to see in the session next year. Do you want to speak about that at all, Laurie?
Yeah, that's if we're going to let you in to New South Wales, by the way. But yeah, literally this review that we're taking right now is trying to look at ways that we can be a little bit innovative and take some stuff. I mean, I love your list there, David, on all the different, I'm trying to get a feeling of what's happening in the world as far as conferences are concerned, but, you know, what options we do look at. But more importantly, what people are looking for, what are they going to take away from events, and make sure that we really hit home those value propositions. Yeah, even this morning on our Connect and Share, just asking a simple question, you know, what do you want from these? It's still amazing that networking comes strong out of this. And I suppose that's hard to do in a virtual world as effectively as what we used to do person to person. So we don't want to discount that value, but yeah, we really need to have everyone's thoughts and ideas and throw it through, because this is our Australian conference. So let me know. Thanks, Dom.
Thank you, Laurie, and thank you for making the effort to reschedule it all and get it all happening for next year. So yeah, but yeah, happy to help promote that survey too and get the word out there. Does anyone else have any topics or queries or observations from the last little while? Happy to discuss. A whole lot of silence. You know, we can't have silence. You're probably all just holding your breath, waiting to see who's going to be announced as the winners of the awards on the 30th, which will be terrific. But the registration, I'm going to do a little reminder on that. Registration for the virtual presentation of those awards. So yeah, we'll send out some more information on that. But we probably should also a big thank you for the sponsors who've come on board with the awards, even as it's a very different product this year. But yeah, we've still got some sponsors on board to support that and to allow us to actually deliver the awards. We're certainly greatly appreciated, and we'll make a fuss of them on the night. Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick one. I know we're sort of overloaded on links and opportunities to do stuff online, but they're a bit of an opportunity for you guys, which I'm happy to extend, is the Small Business Month this year in October for the whole month. And what I've done is done 4 sessions specific to the outdoor sector. So look, any Queenslanders that want to jump on, feel free. You can get it off our website, but there's 4 sessions that are only 1 hour each, free online sort of webinars. The topics are very much around future-proofing your business and digitising your business, and also research and understanding tools and techniques for making business decisions. So if any of those tick your boxes, please jump on our website. As I said this morning, the most excited I am is for the 4th one, which is having ex-Vice President of Disney World come and present to us. So if you respect Disney the way I do, jump onto that one, because he's talking about leading teams, and I don't think any company does it better than Disney, in my opinion. So I think we can take a few leaves out of his book. Excuse the pun, because he just wrote a book.
And he's a former Disney executive, bloke?
Correct, yeah. So he retired last year.
Okay, because I don't know if you saw it, but I think they announced in the last couple of days that they're laying off, saying like 26,000 people or something in Disney, which is pretty scary, but it also shows the scale of their operations, which apparently includes cruise ships. You can understand they might not be, Disney actually have cruise ship lines.
Yeah, the Disney company is you'd be amazed at actually what companies actually are part of Disney when you get down into it. But yeah, it's the Cockrell family. Lee Cockrell was the Vice President of Disney World, and it's his son Dan Cockrell that was the Vice President of Magic Kingdom. So it's Dan that's coming along, but yeah, I've had the privilege to meet both of those guys, and they're incredible.
Excellent. And thank you for extending that to the wonderful Queenslanders, even though we won't let all of you across our border, but we can join electronically, and that way we can get back as well. So thank you for that, Laurie.
Pleasure.
All righty. Oh, well, has anyone else got any other topics? Otherwise, we might wrap it up early and we can have an early lunch. Any others? Gone? We've got a couple of people drop off already, just must have been hungry. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for joining us again today. We'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. All right, don't forget about those Venture Activity Standard webinars too. We'll send out some more info on that. And please register for the Outdoor Queensland Awards. Really looking forward to that evening. I think it'll be a really good night as far as a celebration of the good things that are going on, which we probably haven't had enough celebrations this year. So this is our opportunity, I think. So thanks again for joining us today. And yeah, as we get any information on those industry plans, we'll get that out to the network as well. So thanks very much.